Hey folks, good evening, good day, good night, good morning to wherever you are. What's up? It's David Simpson from the criminal justice realm, the Remedy Project, back again. This dude, I know you guys are saying, this dude need to shut up and go sit down somewhere. Well, guess what? I'm sitting somewhere, right? I'm sitting somewhere having some conversations or, you know, trying to figure out why it is that it seems like I am the only one who notices this stuff. And everybody else, they're trying to figure it out still. But all the facts is there. We're looking at the same facts, right? Like for instance, FAM is celebrating, Families Against Mandatory Minimums, a great organization. They have been fighting for change, um, you know, in the system. It seems like forever. I remember when I was back in prison, you heard about FAM and what they were doing, and you would hope you have a lot of hope that something is about to change. FAM is about to get a win, and prisoners are about to be free. But unfortunately, a lot of the great strides that FAM has made over the years, um, doesn't result in most incarcerated persons being free. Some folks get relief, but not all. Right? But anyway, um, folks are celebrating this win according to FAM. It's a big thing, right? And so I ran across the post. I think reposted by one or two people on LinkedIn, and I'm doing some reviews of LinkedIn stuff, and whenever I hop on there and I see something important, I'll do a review of it, right? Comment on it, that type of thing. And so I want to dive right into what FAM is going on about, right? And so let's get into it. Let's get into it. It says, we at FAM are still celebrating a unanimous passing of the Federal Prison Oversight Act. This marks a huge victory for criminal justice reform. Right off of the top, I would agree that anything that advances the idea or the concept of criminal justice reform is a big deal. And so I'm celebrating with you. Great job, fam, and the other folks that, contributed to this. All right, let's take a look. It says, if you missed Senator Ossoff's impactful Senate floor speech, be sure to check it out. Video below. Okay, I did miss it. Yeah, I missed it. I'm buried in a world of work at the Remedy Project with volunteers, student volunteers doing great work. Administrative Remedies running the whole system. Um, I need more of me, and I need other main employees at that organization. We hope to get funding for that. Until then, there's a lot of work that I'm forced to do by myself. So I'm buried in stuff. So, you know, I come on to these, I run into these things once in a while. So obviously, I miss Senator John Ossoff's speech. So on this unanimous passing of the Federal Oversight Act. So what I'll say is, shoot, let's take a look at it. let's listen to it. Let's see how this comes across to me. Because you see, I siphon and I process facts and data differently for some reason. So let's see if anything jumps out here at me, right? Let's see if I got anything, this dude, right? Let's see what's
How
going
did
on.
it come to pass that in a nation whose founding document guarantees due process and civil rights and prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, a federal prison in Dublin, California, would become so notorious for the endemic sexual abuse of female inmates by prison staff that it would be known as Rape Club. Rape Club. Sexual
Hey, folks. Here's what I had to stop. I had to stop that. He asked a question, a very, very valid question. I would agree. But I'm hoping, I was hoping that he didn't have to ask that question, that this would become a knowledge and common understanding. But no one seems to be able to say these things or answer these things the way that I am able to and or willing to. So, you know, let's address that. Let's address that. First thing, let's address that question. How it is that this happened in the United States of America, right? What he said, we got due process rights and blah blah blah. What? Who has due process rights? First thing first, the laws are there about due process rights. But America is a hypocritical nation at heart. Most of the employees of the state and government organizations only follow those rules and regulations that they pass and are responsible to uphold when it benefits them. Other than that, they don't follow that stuff. Due process? I mean, who gets who? I didn't get proper due process. They screwed me over. They violated my due process rights. They violated my mentor's due process rights, Gary O'Pala, when they blocked his appeals, right? The prison system hinders the administrative remedy process, which has due process rights intertwined into it, into bringing complaints to fruition and onto the record and to have addressed. They hinder that. They retaliate. They punish you for filing, and they don't teach you about it while incarcerated and or educate you in how to use it. So even that due process rights is hindered. And I could go on and on and on. Look how many people have done time in prison, how many cases are on the books overturned because of the common practice of violating due process rights. I mean, what if it was that Americans, all of us, had true access to due process rights? There wouldn't be so many due process rights violations. Okay, there wouldn't be so many folks who have suffered horrendous trauma and pain because of a lack of due process rights, right? How about the right to be arrested without being abused and assaulted? Right? What happened to those rights? Right? Come on. Yeah, come on, folks. Come on. It's hypocritical nation. Okay, listen. Due process. Here's the other thing. Due process rights only apply to those who are really truly prisoners, folks who they see. Oh, you might have done something. You might have committed a crime, and we want to, we set up these laws so that you could be punished, right? But the rest of others are slaves. Remember that? Remember that Americans become slaves when you are convicted of a crime. And when that happens, guess what? Slaves have very little rights, and or folks don't care about their rights anymore. They say, oh shit, if you didn't want this shit to happen to you, you shouldn't have done what you done. Or you shouldn't have got yourself caught up in that shit. Right? That's what they tell you. And they take away, they don't care about your due process rights. It's almost like they take it away. So yeah, the slaves don't get too much due process rights, right? So So guess what? Yeah, that stuff, yeah, please. How in a nation that you could suffer this, you have due process rights and all that, you could suffer, and they call it rape, they should, guess what? Guess what? They're slaves. They were slaves. The staff didn't care because they are programmed that way. That's their mentality. If you're in the prison system, we could do whatever the hell we want. Nobody cares, right? The people of America don't care enough about you being in prison. And so we could get away with this stuff for years. And guess what? Our buddies at the higher levels of the institution are going to protect us and look out for us because in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, it's one aim, one goal, one mission. Guess what? That's what you got, Mr. Ossoff. So I don't know what you don't understand or how you can't figure that out because you senator, you're supposed to be well knowledgeable in the business of slavery of the United States of America. And I don't know how you didn't get that. But, I just told it to you. So hopefully, and many others, so hopefully, you understand. Hopefully, that's how it happens. When you have a slave nation enslaving people and those that are tasked to watch over them have the mentality of slave masters, what do you expect? You know, I don't know what to tell you else other than that. That's how it happens. Slavery. Check it out. It's Constitution. It's in your Constitution. Check it out. Let's continue.
And abuse of federal inmates by the warden, by the chaplain. Senator Johnson of Wisconsin and I led.
Yeah, let me stop again. What? What? Because he's a warden, he doesn't get to take part in the festivities of abusing the slaves? What? Because he's a chaplain? Well, all right. I could understand your shock about the chaplain. I could understand that. He is supposed to be a man of God, right? Yeah, he's supposed to be religious and have high morals and so on and so forth. But guess what? When you live in a corrupted world or in a corrupted institution where everyone around you is corrupted, eventually, guess what happens to you? Right? And he's probably in there looking, saying, oh my gosh, look at all these lovely women, and everybody else is enjoying them, and I don't get to have some fun. It's slaves. They're not human. They're less than human. Folks don't really care that much. So why shouldn't I enjoy myself? That's probably the man's part, or yeah, man, yes, most likely it's a man. That was probably the man's thought process. Let me join my buddies, right? Or maybe it is possible that somebody could have forced him. They could have said, hey, listen, man, if you're rolling with us here, you got to get involved with this or we're going to get rid of you. You're going to have to move. It's like, oh, man, you know what? Maybe I'll join in. I don't know what really happened. You guys going to figure that out. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. You get into that space, that mentality, and you lose yourself. Human beings are losing themselves because that long-standing programming stemming from back all the way back that has been passed on to us from generation to generation. America is a slave nation. You act out in any, if you commit a crime, you got mental issues, you got behavioral issues, any of those things, guess what? Enslave you. That's what we do here in the United States of America. And that's what they do in the prisons. They, a lot of them take advantage of the slaves. It's no big deal to them. It's a big deal to me. I wanted to get the hell out of there. But hey.
Bipartisan investigation of sexual assault in federal prisons, we found that in two-thirds of federal prisons that housed female inmates, inmates had been sexually assaulted by members of prison staff.
There you go. That's the facts to support what I'm talking about. In 2/3 of the prisons, right? So the higher amount, right? Again, it proves the mentality. This proves what I am saying, folks. It's a mentality, it's a programming here in the US, right? Where you get incarcerated, you are now to be dehumanized, demoralized, and taken advantage of. Once you are targeted for the system, once they get that label on you, criminal, felon, inmate, those replaceable words for the word slave, it's over with. Oh, it's a party. That's what's going on. It's a massive party at the behest of women. That is not looking good, my friends. That is not, and we say that this is the best country, and we say that we act like folks got human rights, and you know, what? What are we really doing? What are we really saying? This shit is too hypocritical to believe. Right? We still today, people don't get it. People still don't get it today. Where else or what else could happen in this country? Where else does it happen in this country where any other set of individuals can be dehumanized, mistreated, and the institution that was responsible for it not be torn apart, right? Not be shut down immediately. And, and those folks become slaves themselves. But in the prison system, oh, it's no big deal. It's just slave women. It's just slave women. 2/3 of them. This has been happening to 2/3 of women in prisons, and you're trying to tell me that passing a law for this shit? The prison should have been shut down a long time ago, and the women set free. Right? Here's another thing. Wait, since when or where has it been known that women are overly a threat to society? Do women commit mass shootings? Do women commit acts of terrorism? Do women run around just killing people? How many serial killers? How many women serial killers are there out there? I don't know. It's not common. I haven't heard. So why in the world do you have women at mass in these horrible places in the first place? They shouldn't even be in these type of settings for individuals to take advantage of them, and for other predators, one or two predators that might exist amongst them, to take advantage of them. Why do you need to incarcerate women like that? Right? What is it about you folks here in America that, my people, why it is that you have to incarcerate everybody? You have to put them in these places that are inhumane, designed to dehumanize and tear them apart and ruin their lives and ruin their marriages and separate them from their kids and all that other nonsense. Why do you have to do that? Oh, guess what, Senator? I know the answer to my own question. Different from you. The answer or the response is, it's because it's big business. The big business of slavery, modern day slavery. It's all about the money. I knew the answer. I don't even know why I asked that question. But if I were you guys, passing an oversight, it's great, it's a big deal. But To me, you want to protect the woman, you let them out of these damn hellholes. Okay, that's what you do. My good friend Clover Perez spent 10 years in a prison because she so-called falsified documents while doing some immigration work. That's what you, 10 years. She was exposed to that horrible stuff. And thanks to the Most High, she was one of the lucky ones to escape without being harmed or abused like that. But what about the many others that have suffered? What about the many others that are running around traumatized now because you put them in these systems, right? This is what we're doing, right? It's us, the people of the United States of America, that are upholding and condoning the big business of slavery. And until we stop that nonsense, 2/3 of women in prison systems are going to continue to suffer. How about that? Because the majority of us have a mentality that if you got a mental illness or you got behavioral issues or you want to commit a crime because your pocket is weak and you're trying to get an easy come up, that we are going to enslave you and put you in these horrible places where we dehumanize you and break you and tear you down and abuse you, right? Until we get away from that mentality, what you're talking about, they ain't going away. I don't care how many oversight you put, right? We put in oversight with the Remedy Project, and the staff is acting, the staff is blocking our numbers. Folks from calling us, they are blocking our emails, hindering our mail, all types of nonsense they still doing. How you what oversight? Come on, stop. You know. But good job, though. Good job in passing. I'm still for it. I'm still for it. I'm not against it. That's good. What else you got?
We found that at the U.S. Penitentiary in Atlanta, in my home state of Georgia, for nearly a decade, unchecked corruption and civil rights abuses had been ongoing with the knowledge of the leadership of the Bureau of Prisons and no effective action.
Guess what? That's in your state. Let me hip you to something, brother. Let me hip you to something, Mr. Ossoff. It happens in every state. It's going on in every state in 99% of the prisons. It's just a matter of how much. Okay? But it's happening in all of them. Every state, in all federal prisons, in all state prisons, that stuff is happening. It's just a matter of how much. The stuff is horrible. Okay? And it doesn't just happen to women, it's happening to men. Okay? Men get abused and raped and denied this and that also. Okay? So, yeah. Okay. Continue.
Taken to address them. Pre-trial detainees sleeping in paper pajamas, denied access to counsel, denied access to hygiene products, denied access to fresh air. Pre-trial, presumptively.
Listen. All they are, at that point, if they're pre-trial, if they're already targeted, they're arrested by the system, okay, they are what you considered slave material, okay? And once you are considered slave material, it's okay to treat you like a slave. I studied this stuff. I was in the prison for 10 years. That's what I did. I studied the system. I studied the mentality of folks who are incarcerated and folks who run the system. And that's what I came up with. That's what I understand today. And the facts support my understanding. Once they arrest you and they got you in their system, whether pre-trial or not, buddy, you are a slave until you prove yourself not to be one. Innocent. They got you, and you're gonna suffer. So, yeah, That's what's going on. It's not changing anytime soon.
The human rights crisis behind bars in the United States is a stain on America's conscience.
What? This dude is admitting that we have a human rights crisis here in the United States of America in prisons. Well, boy, that's what we preach at the Remedy Project and the criminal justice realm. And I am glad to hear someone in government say it. But, Senator, there are many others who are very much for the big business of slavery. How are you going to deal with them? How are you going to deal with the folks who are for the big business of slavery? They're not going to like that statement you just made, because that suggests that their business is in jeopardy, that their business is failing. How are you going to deal with that, Senator? And Mr. Joe Biden, boy, is he in a predicament, because he passed laws that enabled and that were for the big business of slavery. And now you're passing a law that puts oversight over the big business of slavery. I guess it's not that big of a deal. He could sign that because you're not eradicating the business. You're not shutting it down. You're not slowing it down. You're just putting oversight. You're just adding another watchdog. So you got the Remedy Project watching, and now you got a new person in government watching. Maybe together the Remedy Project and the students of the Remedy Project and this other whoever it is you put in place, maybe they can work together and get this thing right, and really suppress the dehumanization and address the crisis that's in the prison system. But the real resolution here is some form of mass decarceration. Okay, because again, let's stick within the context. A woman don't belong in prisons in masses like this. It's just absolute. There is no justification for it other than big business of slavery. There is no justification for handcuffing pregnant women to beds. There is no justification for having women locked in steel cages and cells, over long periods of time. Who are they that much of a threat to? No one. Obviously, they're not a threat to prison guards and prison officials, because they are abusing the hell out of women left, right, and center. 2/3 of them, like you said. So, come on, let's be real. Let's ask the real questions here. Why are so many women in prison in the United States of America, other than the fact of big business, big slavery? Come on, you guys got to stop it. You guys got to cut it out, okay? Cut it out. But great job so far, Senator Ossoff. But your buddies in Congress and those in the Justice Department and other places, they're the ones. All right, we need to cut it out. And even the citizens, the ones who every little mistake a person makes, or a person did something that they don't like, they say lock them up and throw away the key. Right? That's the mentality of the slavery. All right, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what needs to be fixed. That's what we need to address.
And Mr. President, we just passed the most significant federal prison reform legislation in many years. And now it's on the way to the desk of the President of the United States. I am grateful to my colleague, Senator Braun of Indiana, for joining me in authoring and introducing the Federal Prison Oversight Act, which has now been passed by the Senate and the House. This is landmark prison reform legislation. It will require the Inspector General of the Department of Justice.
Hold on. But I think I like between me and you. The First Step Act. Uh, to me personally, First Step Act was a little better. That actually released people, right? And guess what? The prisons officials and the folks who benefit from the big business of slavery, they hindered that. They still hindering it up to this day. You can't get it to you can't get it to work properly. There's so many thousands of people still suffering because they haven't even implemented that properly. And so I wonder, this law that you've passed, how speedily and how properly and how genuinely it will be implemented. It's just a wonder of mine, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Take ongoing and regular inspections of every single federal prison in the United States. It will establish an independent ombudsman at the Department of Justice to investigate the health, safety, welfare, and rights of incarcerated people and staff, who will also create a secure hotline.
Hold on. So he will investigate these situations. They've been doing investigation on these situations for a long time. What I want to know is there any more than investigations, right? Is he allowed to fire staff, reduce the population, close prisons, and that type of stuff? Because if he ain't allowed, or he or she or whoever is running, they, them, whoever is in charge of this position is not capable of doing these things, it's no big deal to me now. I just thought about that. This doesn't mean anything, but we'll find out. Let me hear what else you got to say. Continue.
Online form for family members, friends, and representatives of incarcerated Americans to submit complaints and inquiries. It will require the IG.
Wait a minute. It will require folks to submit complaints, and that's what we do. You have a process for that already. It's called the administrative remedy process. It's called the complaint process, and it's hindered, right? So what are you suggesting here? That family members and stuff, if a person on the inside calls their family member and says, hey, this is happening to me, are you suggesting that the family member is going to be able to call this specific hotline, and folks are going to be able to, and these folks are going to be able to investigate it based off of just the calls or the outcry of family, and not proper documentation and or administrative remedy filings? And here's another thought that I'm having now that I'm thinking about it, right? So in order for the courts to address complaints and civil rights complaints and lawsuits and these type of things from individuals who are incarcerated, they need to do the administrative remedy process, the complaint process, right? They have to go through that, and they have to exhaust it all the way to the best of their ability. And if they can prove that it's hindered and or suppressed, they can go to the courts, and their issue must really be court worthy. Not every issue is court worthy. FAM requires that. My question here is, because I haven't read your bill, and I'll probably have to read it to find that out, or maybe someone could hit me to it. But my question here is, does this new law that you pass and or this new office to investigate complaints now undermine or waive the need for folks to exhaust administrative remedies to have issues addressed and or be official in the system? Is that what's going on? Because if you're creating oversight to investigate stuff, but folks still have to do administrative remedies and all of that to make it legitimate, then what? Because you're talking about complaints from the outside, but according to policy, rules, and regulations, the complaints have to be, for them to be official, for the prison staff and or the warden to be knowledgeable, to be able to say, I know about that situation. You got to do remedies. So is this law that you're passing addressing that in some form or fashion? Because again, I'm starting to smell a rat somewhere. But still, I still applaud the work. Great work. It's great work. Let's continue.
Report the findings from its routine inspections of federal prisons and recommendations to Congress and to the public, and require the Bureau of Prisons to respond to all inspection reports within 60 days with a corrective action plan.
Or else, then what? What are we talking about? Because people complain all the time, and there have been investigations by judges and other senators and Congress into the Bureau of Prisons. As a matter of fact, you guys know everything that's wrong with the prison system. Now you're talking about them, it's a crisis. What else do we really need to be investigating again? What is really going on? What do we need to investigate? Why don't we just start cleaning this shit up? That's where I'm at. Why do we need to have another investigating body? Can we just really start cleaning the mess up? How about that? That's where I'm at. I'm starting to get pissed off. As great as this win and or this success or this law is, it's starting to piss me off because it's not addressing the problem. It's really just another way of admitting and or highlighting something that you already know and you have already admitted. They're going to bring you back the same information that you already know. So what? This person, so you already know 2/3 of the prisons women suffer, and this person is going to go investigate and come back and tell you, oh no, it's 100%. And that's it. And then what? Come on, we got to do something. Nah, come on. Come on, folks. We got to do better, Americans. Americans, we got to do better. We got to step up and demand more. I'm telling you, got to step up.
We were able to pass this legislation because we worked together. Senator Johnson and I leading multiple bipartisan investigations of human rights abuses and corruption in the federal prison system. Senator Braun and I forming the Prison Policy Working Group to develop bipartisan solutions like this one. I'm grateful to my colleague from Georgia in the U.S. House, Representative McBath, for her tireless efforts to shepherd this bill to passage in the U.S. House. And today we passed it on the floor of the Senate. I'm grateful for the support of my colleagues, and let the leadership of the Bureau of Prisons know that the United States Congress will no longer tolerate the wanton and ongoing and widespread abuse of those who are in their custody. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
You sure? Are you sure it's the entire Congress? Was this a unanimous pass? I mean, you passed it, but was it unanimous? Are you trying to suggest to me that the majority of folks in Congress are no longer going to tolerate the crisis that's happening in the Federal Bureau of Prisons and in prisons across the United States of America? Well, if you want me to believe that it's the majority of you that is on, and that is now your mindset, that you have accepted the fact that prisons in the United States, especially in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, are horrible places to be, that there are crises. And when I say crisis, a crisis means that it's horrible. It's like the worst of the worst, right? It's an epidemic, right? And you want me to believe that the majority of folks in Congress are no longer supporting such a thing. Then why in the world are you guys just passing an oversight bill? Why are you not passing the act of finding a law that finds a new way to deal with and or hold women accountable for crimes and or their bad behavior or their mental issues or their homelessness? Why does it still have to be incarceration in these places? Oh, I know the answer to that. Because it's slave nation. It's about the big business of slavery. So guess what? Women, I am sorry to tell you, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of women forever. Forever, ever, forever, ever. But unfortunately, those of you who are considered slaves, you got to suffer with the men. They got to make that money off of you. They don't care. And sadly, it's even us. I'll tell you, even folks who are incarcerated believe that, some of us believe that the business of it's just what it is. That's what we do. No big deal. I did dirt, or they caught me or whatever, and I'm now a slave. No big deal. Suck it up. There's some incarcerated folks who think like that. But when it comes to the staff, oh no. From the time you get a job, from the time a person gets a job at the Federal Bureau of Prisons and they work in that system for, let's say, up to 2 years plus, their thinking is warped. They have been programmed to watch slaves suffer, and they are comfortable with it. The majority of them. The ones who are not usually quit within that time frame, right? They either get out of it right away, or they last for about 2 years till they find another job and they bounce. But either which way, yeah. As much as of a great deal and a big deal this is to me, I'm not so moved by it anymore. I'm tired of the investigations and the prying into what's going on. As you already know, you just told me how horrible it is. You told me that you're not for it anymore. Why are we passing stuff for people to oversight and investigate? Why are we not starting to close these places and place women in safer environments and hold them accountable in better ways? How about that as a start? How about hitting the pockets? How about starting to eliminate and or reduce big business of modern day slavery? How about that? When you guys are doing that stuff, I'll dance and I'll celebrate and I'll cheer with you. Fam, great job, fam. But yeah, I'm not impressed. It looked like I was gonna be, but I'm not anymore. That's just me. I'm sorry. It's this ridiculous fool from on LinkedIn. I don't know that. I'm not educated, right? Remember, I was not educated here in the United States. I'm an electrician by trade. Electrician by trade. I'm not that smart. You guys are smarter than me. You know what you're doing. America, you know what you're doing. Me, I can't figure it out. I'm lost as hell. Folks, David Simpson, Remedy Project, Criminal Justice Realm, we out.
Slave Nation.